This is Patrick Plywood McNeil, your favorite Vapelord Skid, and you're listening to the toughest podcast in Letterkenny.
Tiara.
What's up?
How are you now?
I'm good, and you?
Not so bad. Oh man, we have reached the conclusion of season 4.
Holy shit.
There was there was a lot going on in the season, a lot going on with us.
Right.
Things got delayed in some cases, and even this, we got a little bit later start than I preferred.
Well, I got sick this weekend,
yeah.
so that was part of it.
So you don't do that anymore.
I know. I'm trying. It's
So
not my fault. This is this new body thing.
yeah. So now, real quick before
Yes.
we get into things,
Okay.
we were asked
Oh God.
at the top of
Our season.
this
Yes.
season, for something. Can you
Yeah.
tell me what that was and who asked us for that?
Robert Lockwood in our Facebook group asked us to come up with a limerick. And at the time, we didn't have enough time because we got the request as we were recording,
On the
basically.
day of, yeah.
On the day of.
Yeah.
So we decided to put it off till the end, and we summed up the season
In our own ways.
in our own ways.
Yeah. Do you want to go first or you want me to go
Go
first?
for it.
All right. And Letterkenny, Wayne likes his chorin, 'cause he'd rather forget heartache and be boring. But between Tanis and Rosie, he's not feeling cozy, and so he'll get the Gus and Brew pouring.
I like it. I like it. All right. This season brought us more mates, some connections of such not so great. But with just enough puppers and bonfire suppers, a few folks got toe curlin' dates.
Ooh, toe
Ooh,
curling.
toe
I like
curling.
I like a little toe curling.
Oh, yeah. You want to go do a little toe curling?
Oh, I'm all for some toe curling. Let me take these off so I don't be jangling too
That's
much.
probably a good idea. You should take them off when we're toe curling, too.
Hey, well, you never know. That's it sounds like I'm wearing spurs.
Not my kink.
Maybe it's mine.
You have not expressed such in almost 13 years, sir.
So where do we want to start off with this? Should we start off with growth?
Yeah.
Anything you're curious about?
Well, I'm curious how many downloads we're at.
Well, we are right on the cusp of 26,000.
What?
26,000 since we moved to Transistor, which I think was back in it June? June. So
26,000.
26,000.
Huh.
So that's
Wow.
And I think all of our current episodes, the episodes for season 4, are all over 1,000.
That's so
Each.
weird. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome out there.
So, and then as other growth, our Facebook is up. Our Facebook group
Yes.
is up over 2,000, which just happened
Last night. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective, when we recorded our season 3 recap, we were 1325. So
Okay.
that's 51% growth.
Nice.
Twitter, we last season we ended with 667. And we're now up to 1,092. We're probably actually a little bit more than that now, since I wrote these numbers down, but that's 64% growth. Instagram, we went from 331 to 546. That's 65% growth. Tumblr, we went from 236 to 486, and that's 106% growth there.
Woo.
Just in this season.
Wow.
Our Patreon patrons have grown.
Yeah, we only had a couple.
We had 9.
We had 9?
Yeah, we're up
Okay.
to 15 now.
Wow.
So we're going to give thanks out to Courtney, Dennis Guggen, and his wonderful, awesome custom pop vinyls, Heidi, the Pie Guy, and actually I need to give also a shout out to Gamefully Unemployed again, because I left him out. I told him I was going to give him a shout out 3 times. And I also need to send him a shirt. Yes. So, the Gamefully Unemployed, I will post in the show notes where to find them. It's a really cool podcast network. I mean, it's podcast and streaming and all kinds of stuff. So it's 2 guys that were laid off during the big layoff from crack.com. And so they got some cool shows on there. So check them out. Kevin Wack, who was, I don't know if it was he was last, one of the 3rd season that we interviewed him on, I think. Then Lisa Judy, I don't know if she's any relation to Doug Judy.
You missed a name.
Did I miss a name?
Kevin Wack.
Oh, Kyle Ware. Maybe some relation to Marcus.
Maybe.
One of our favorite Wares.
My favorite football player. Hulk smash.
So Kevin Wack, Kyle Ware, Lisa Judy, Mitch Cole, Monica McCoy, Reagan, Renee Encarnacion, Awesome, who is our trivia maven. She also was there in our very first episode of season 4. And Shane Winsma, Shanna
Shanimal,
and Valerie Lopez, who I have some exciting news for. And I don't know if I'm allowed to give it, but she's got a cool interview coming up with one on Comedy Wham with one of the cast members.
Nice.
And I'm super excited for her, and she's going to give him give us a shout out to him. And just because he's funny as fuck, and I would really like to talk to him. So during this season, our new website has come up.
Yes.
howareyounowpod.com. And we have our email addresses there as well. So it's hosts at howareyounowpod.com. We'll get to both of us. Dean_Giles at howareyounowpod.com will get to me. Tiara_Walker will get to the lovely Tiara.
Stick with hosts.
So that I'll answer them.
Yeah.
Send her emails. Tell her how wonderful she is and that she's amazing.
Oh, God.
She needs some encouragement. Our merch. So our merch with F yeah t-shirts or
F yeah printing.
Printing. Okay. So I because that's a very long link. So what I did is made it very easy for everyone to find. To get right there is you go to howareyounowpod.com/merch, and that will take you right where you need to go to get to our merch.
And the awesome Luann is in charge of all that amazing stuff. And I get to see her in a couple weeks, and I'm so excited.
Nice. And so we've started doing this season. We also did our music.
Different music for each episode,
right? And
which has been really cool.
Yeah, and as we go through these episodes here and recap, we will we'll give them a shout out again.
Also, send us more music because seriously, and if you are like some experimental weird whatever, and you're like, no one wants to hear it, I want to hear it.
Hell yeah! I mean, if you listen,
we've got no rap. Totally. I want some.
And I think Bobby Buhay from JV's, he sent somebody my way, and I think it was a hip hop guy from up there. I'll have to check it out again.
Cool.
There's been a few that have come in, but I just need to check on them. We also have our friends, our good friends Angela Tini and her husband Dario, who are both in 2 different type of groups.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, they're both in different types of groups.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that Dario's band just broke up.
Oh no! God damn it!
Yeah.
Well, Teeny's still going around. And
I think she's in Vegas right now. Yeah.
The Star Jays. Mm-hmm. So if you like some jump blues and all that kind of stuff, she's got an amazing voice, and that band is tight.
Yes.
Let's see, and then the
Indiegogo campaign.
You want to try that again?
The Indiegogo campaign.
Indiegogo campaign. So so we and I've, with the exception for Heather, because I need to roast her some coffee.
Oh yeah.
And I've already talked to her. I have fulfilled all of our gifts for that.
Awesome. Show us your merch.
So yeah. And if you got merch from us, show it off, model it. So
tag your pictures on Facebook with How Are You Now too, so we can see that.
Victoria, who put us at our goal, she hasn't given me anything yet. She just it was just a one lump sum donation. It wasn't any perk related. So she'll get back to me, I'm sure, at some
Oh.
point. So she
We love Victoria.
we do. I mean, she's been a friend of ours for years, and like Heidi, Heidi wants to help us out, and it's just because they love us. So and they've known us for some time, and it's not about getting stuff back. It's just helping us get where we want to go. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, we want to give thanks to Victoria, Woody, Heather, Elizabeth, Valerie, Eric, and Heidi for contributing and getting us to our goal. We have our Roadcaster Pro,
Which is like
the Rode Procaster is a mic, and the Roadcaster Pro is a mixer.
I totally wouldn't even have caught that mistake.
But yeah, I will.
Okay, all right.
And we also get Tiara her own Shure SM7B mic.
My fancy mic that I no longer hit my face on when I move my head.
And I can see her face.
It's such a face.
And we also got some acoustic tiles.
Yeah. Hopefully the sound is much better for everybody
Hopefully,
out there.
yeah.
I mean, hell, we're even recording with the door open, and it sounds beautiful to me right now.
And we've also completed, which will be at the end of this episode, end of the recap, will be our second cast member interview with Patrick McNeil, your favorite vaping skid, this Vapelord Skid Supreme gas mask
Vaping
wearing.
through the fidget spinner. Dude, love that.
It was a wonderful interview. We had
crying on Stuart's shoulder and vaping.
Yeah, we had a couple of technical issues.
Yeah, it happens.
It's going to happen. Anytime you have a remote, it's not always going to work out, but you figure it out and you work your way through it.
Yeah.
It's not the first time. It won't be the last.
True story.
And all of our guest hosts who will also mention as we go through each episode. So let's start off.
All right. Season 4, episode 1.
Yeah. Never work a day in your life. And our, like I said earlier, our first guest host for that season was awesome. Awesome.
Seriously.
What do you mean it's not awesome?
Well, and we just kind of did a quick little listen to of episode 1 too, and I realized, and I want to say this for the record because I'm sure it's happened before, but I don't always listen to our episodes after we record it. If I'm speaking to somebody with an accent, I start to gain aspects of that accent, and it's absolutely not something that I realize I'm doing. So, what?
No, I was going to say, and you talked about that in that episode.
I didn't remember that part because I just heard myself again. Okay, I just heard myself again and got all like anxious in my chest. I'm like, oh God, I hope nobody thinks I'm doing that on purpose.
No, because you talked about it as an Aspie thing. Both of you did about echolalia.
Again, I don't listen to our episodes after we do them.
So our musical guest for that episode was a Smile Syndicate, which is also a podcast and music. They do it's a weird and amazing podcast. I don't know how to describe it. You have to listen to it. The Smile Syndicate.
Yeah.
Go listen to them.
Yeah.
So this episode in a nutshell, you want to take that?
Well, I mean, the season started with Wayne and Rosie not together because he had to hit
because of Bradley. Yeah.
I almost called him Wayne because Wayne Brady. I seriously,
he is kind of like Wayne Brady. I can see that. And
just
he's
reminds
also,
me of the sketches of does Wayne Brady need to shake a bitch?
And he's the Black Wayne.
He is the Black Wayne. Yes. So yeah, Wayne's trying to forget Rosie. Like he just thinks that they're done because that's in his mind the way that things go.
Right.
And let's see, the Skids and Glenn. I like the turf war for the Dollar Tree. That I thought that was a really interesting arc and actually played a big part in how I thought of the whole season because it was two different groups coming together and eventually finding common ground. And I love that.
Right. And then how Riley and Jonesy's relationship with Katie.
Choosing only one of them.
Right. And how that dynamic changed. So now I've got on this list here my favorite character. So I'll let you choose your own.
Always, yes.
So I don't want to make this claim so my favorite character for this episode was Tanis. I mean, pretty much any episode Tanis is in, I'm going to choose Tanis. So, I mean, I'm not going to.
Same.
So,
I mean, Teo Horn was not the reason why I started watching this show.
Oh, yeah.
But I can guarantee you it's one of the big reasons why I continue watching the show.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she
every
adds
episode she's in, every scene.
That big Tannis energy always coming through. I mean,
you got to get that on a shirt.
Definitely.
I need a shirt that says that.
You done with BTE?
Yeah, you know me.
So, and one of the things that we talked about in our episode with Awesome was about how it normalized things. So let's listen to that. So that's, it's normal. Mm-hmm. I think that's the great. It's normalized. All of these things are normalized in Letterkenny, a little town, a rural
tiny town, a tiny rural town in Canada.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. and this is something that I've really come land, sea, and air this. This show is so dialed in, and specifically to bi culture with the fucking jokes about algebra. And the pants that fucking fit, etc., etc. I want to know how they keep that honesty, without outing anybody. I don't want to know, but I do want to know how they get that grip on the pop culture of queer folks. Mm-hmm. Where is that coming from? And thank you for that, please.
Yeah,
absolutely. And also, there are so many ways that Letterkenny treads the line without going over it.
Yeah.
That it's amazing to me. There's no way that they don't have somebody who's very, very versed in all
tuned
of that
in,
helping.
Yeah. Into that culture.
Exactly.
Yeah. And all facets of culture that they talk about. Mm-hmm. So, and also, for this, like I did last season, I put out polls for everything. And for this episode, the favorite quote was
Reps. Revelation. Reps. Revelation. Reps. Revelation.
Calling the cops.
Gotta have to have a little Bonnie McMurray at the end. So, so that was our episode 1 in a nutshell. Yeah. Then we get into episode 2, A Fuss at the Golf Course, which was our highest. I mean, I voted the highest by far.
Really?
Yeah. Probably at twice the rate as the second, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah, on that show,
I liked Fuss at a Golf Course better personally. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It was my favorite probably of this season.
It was so good, and it was there was lots of good acting and comedy in that, and just it gave the McMurrays a chance to shine, which was that was, and that's
and coach a little bit too.
And so on my notes I have my favorite character is the McMurrays. I don't know if you.
I would probably say coach in this one.
Yeah,
because this is
they're both.
You get to really see
the yin and yang between the two groups.
Yeah,
so they you can't have one without the other.
Right.
So so for this episode our guest hosts were Marty and Dan from the Breaking Mayberry podcast.
That was so much fun.
Those guys are so funny. And if you've never watched Andy Griffith Show, you don't have to. You can find out all about the Andy Griffith Show from Breaking Mayberry.
Yep.
It's a very interesting take on kind of how we do with Letterkenny. But
looking back at a show that
that is 50 plus years, 60 years old,
and actually relevant.
Yeah.
In some ways.
And how fucked up shit was.
Right? But it was fucked up that nobody talked about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we talk about it, which is why it's no longer the good old days.
Kind of like the two black actors that they had in the show that did not talk at all.
Exactly.
But anyway, and our guest host, our musical guest was Disrupt the Paradigm. Go check them out. We'll have all these will be in our show notes. These bands are all fabulous. And so in this one, the Hicks and the McMurrays get together to basically go after the folks at the country club
because they want to get rid of the Canadian gooses.
Yeah, because they're laying their eggs there at the country club, and so they decided they're going to start oiling eggs so they don't hatch. Right, so they can't hatch. Which has upset the McMurrays and the Hicks, and now they're on the warpath. And as well as the other warpath at the dollar store.
Right, that's still going on.
Right. And then the Riley and Jonesy situation with Katie still trying to to sort that out. So it's all these conflicts going on all at the same time. So yeah, so I had the McMurrays, you had you had Coach, and I'm going to say, I'll do this right now. The favorite quote for the episode was,
"Must be fucking nice."
Must be fucking nice.
Must be fucking nice. Yeah, that was voted the number one quote for this episode. And then one of the things that we got into a discussion about as far as the McMurrays was how mad they were at what was going on.
Mr. and the McMurrays themselves, I mean, just how they get, they're
Mrs. McMurray always takes that one step too far,
yeah, and
which I fucking love.
I want to mail some fucking anthrax. You take your own steroids. and
they do a great job of sounding like people who are so mad that they're not making sense anymore. When he just yells like, "They're Van fucking Guardians of the fucking galaxy."
The McMurrays are low key the MVPs of this episode.
Totally.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, one
of my favorite scenes with them is in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, so they're just, I mean, you don't fuck with motherhood and just holding each other's hands. and so
those cocksuckers help each other fly.
Oh my God. That's, again, one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Like, of all of them, probably.
Totally.
Thus far, it's probably in my top 2.
Yeah.
We know what my first one is, of course. But I just love how much we kind of learn about the McMurrays during that. Like, we started having a lot of theories about why they are the way they are, why Mrs. McMurray is so overprotective about these gooses.
And our theory about, maybe she can't have babies.
Exactly. So yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. And we also started learning a little bit about, we don't have anything about Coach right now, but you started learning a little bit more because he kind of talks a little bit more in this episode and it's not just yelling at the hockey players.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I really liked.
Him outside of the barn.
Yeah.
Then we get to episode 3, Way to a Man's Heart.
Yes. Sorry.
It's all right. And we had, it was kind of a double for this. The musical guest was the Alder Kings, and our guest host for the episode was Chris Martinez of the Alder Kings.
Yeah.
They do some really cool, it's like psycho surf, I guess you could call it. That's what I would call it.
Yeah.
Really cool music. Something that I really dug just because it reminded me of the psychobilly and rockabilly that I listened to.
And used to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so how would you talk about this episode?
So this is the episode where we kind of learn a little bit more about Tanis and how things work up on the res, because this is where the two strays show up.
Right.
Shayla and Shania. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Shayla. Okay. And Shania, who stole our surly uncles away from Tanis. Because they'll
Tanis's
nephews. I like calling them the squirrely uncles.
Okay.
That was the thing that you and Don used to do. You called them the squirrely uncles.
Okay.
Do you not remember this?
No, it's okay. I know that the Joint Boys folks were called the surly uncles.
I know. Okay, whatever.
It's okay.
Sure. Maybe I am confusing the two, but I swear on Podskier, before we even started this, you guys referred to them as the surly uncles.
Okay.
All
right.
Because they always stood there with their arms crossed. Anyway, they got stolen away by the power of the pussy, and Tanis recruited basically everybody to help her get them back. And then the other part of the episode was the Skids and Glenn finally decide to kind of switch places and figure out, like, walk a mile in each other's shoes.
Right.
And
so conflict resolution.
Yeah.
That's trying to work
the whole
out.
episode.
Yeah. So yeah, you like seeing. So what we've seen so far is there's this conflict, and then there's more conflict, and now we're trying to figure out
how
a way
we can get the resolution. Yeah.
Right. And also in this episode was the D-Gens from Upcountry coming to stir shit up.
That's right. So, I forgot almost.
Yeah. And so, and also, we didn't have a lot of new terms, I think, because we've learned so many terms.
The whole season, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So this time, I learned a new term. You
yes,
said
you did. I had heard it before.
You had heard, so otter.
Yes.
So that's what Dax and Ron preferred, because after talking to.
Rolled, huh?
Yeah, rolled. So, again, Tanis episode.
Always Tanis. Always.
But and so yeah, we get to the part where we've gotten to where Wayne is ready, and then this happens.
Thomas.
Let's have a scrap.
About fucking time. I started to think it was never going to come.
Because he spent the entire episode thinking he was going to fight somebody, and then they like people are talking and talking it out, and finally he's like, "Can I please hurt this kid? Can I hurt him?" That was the DJ showed up, yeah.
And so
like he's like, really? No. But and I love. We talked about how like he feels that there's that there's kind of a way to like he asked for her permission,
right?
Because in that situation,
they're
she was
turf.
the one. Exactly. She was kind of the head of, and, you know, he asked Katie a lot because he definitely, I'm not able to complete this sentence here other than I love how Wayne defers to the women in his life.
Well, he respects whoever.
Not just respects, but like he would probably do really well in a meritocracy. Like he thinks the women know more and better than the men do.
True. Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like he said on his relationships episode when he was talking to the feminist about well, I trust my sister just about anything over a man except
for this.
So and then they have the big scrap, and we find out that Wayne is he's not Superman.
Right.
There's only been a couple of times where I've actually been worried that he's not gonna win.
Yeah.
And when it's happened, it's been like it's been like visceral. Like I've been literally on the edge of my seat because it looks like he's in trouble.
Well, I mean, we know he's not invincible because he got knocked. Even though it was a sucker punch, Joint Boy knocked him out. And then not Joint Boy, Tyson knocked him out. Joint Boy was really close. I mean, because at the end
it was a very even fight.
Yeah, it was a very even fight. And then Wayne's at the end is panting when he asks him if he would like to come to the Super Soft birthday party. So yeah, that was Wayne's not invincible, and I'm expecting at some point he's gonna get fairly beaten, and that's probably gonna be a season. So
yeah,
or the end of a season.
And then that legit worries me.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. I in a way, I kind of hope that happens, just to see how that goes, because I think they can.
He's got his whole personality tied up in being the toughest guy in Letterkenny. What would happen if he was no longer the toughest guy?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, seeing how that played out would be very interesting.
What do you think would happen?
That, like I said, that's going to be a whole season of Wayne collecting himself to.
Well, if you were to pick a character on the show currently,
I've had this argument before a number of times.
Okay, but I don't mean like who could beat him up. If you could pick someone in your mind who would be the best match that could potentially do it, though, like not necessarily like, because I know we talked about how Derry saves him a couple of times, and how Squirrely Dan seemed unbothered a lot when people were trying to fight him, but I think. Who would you think? Like, who would you think is the toughest guy in Letterkenny if Wayne was not?
If you just mean could beat anybody else, if you took Wayne, if Wayne did not exist,
or Wayne had to bow out and could, had to leave town or something.
Sure, I would.
Who do you think would come out on top?
I honestly, Squirrely Dan, just because he, like I said, he's unbothered by anybody attacking him. I mean, Derry is quite even. He's scrappy too. But
I think
Dan,
Derry's a little crazy. I think he would just lose his shit. And
but yeah, I think to be the toughest guy, you also have to have reason. And I think as far as those two are concerned, Squirrely Dan has the most reason on his side. He's got huge fucking hands. So he may not cheat. He wouldn't chase you down, but if one of those fucking mitts hit you in the face, you can be hurting for a while. Or hit you somewhere else.
I see. That's. I know you were reading my mind, weren't you?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my husband.
Yep. So yeah, I honestly think that Dan to me is the he's the heir apparent.
Okay.
That's to me.
I would agree with you probably.
And
I don't think people would challenge him too, because he's a nice guy and he's friends with a lot of people and if Wayne had to leave and, everybody was like fighting, I almost feel like Swirly Dan would walk into it and go, hey, and some of them would be like, you're right. Right? And then the other half would fight him and he would win.
Yeah.
So the ones that he didn't have to fight were the ones who were his friends who were like, yeah, you're level-headed, you're smart, you're good. Yeah.
And honestly, I think it would probably be it would have to be co-equal between him and Derry as far as fighting.
I don't think Derry would want to be. I don't feel like that fits his personality.
Well, I think
it doesn't really fit Dan's either. But
I think Derry needs somebody to follow.
Yeah. I would never see him as trying to be number one.
And I think they both follow Katie.
I think they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she would be the queen and they would be the knights.
Yeah.
Kind of like how it is
like
now.
Tanis. With Tanis on the res.
Yeah. So if Wayne, let's say Wayne moved off to the res with Tanis or,
got married to a Quebecois. How do you say that?
Quebecois.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, French speakers. I cannot do that.
So then we jump forward to our next episode, season 4, episode 4, which is the second place.
The talent show.
Letterkenny talent show.
Because of course.
We had our friend Bobby Bouhay from JB Memes and stuff. He makes some hilarious fucking memes for Letterkenny and many other things. Anyway, and then we had our musical guest for that episode was White Coals, which features Cole Fournier of Super Fun Time Trivia, which is one of my favorite podcasts. I mean, the one podcast that I listen to probably the most regularly is Super Fun Time Trivia because they fucking make me laugh so much and I need that. Mm-hmm. So I love those guys. They are amazing and you should go listen to them as soon as you're done listening to this. So
yeah. After this episode.
This episode is they decide the McMurrays actually come up with the idea that they need to put on a talent show.
Yeah.
And because shitty stand-up comedian came into town and was just, I'm surprised that they didn't beat the shit out of him.
I think they did later. Like if he stuck around, yeah. Pretty sure out back. Got a little scrap going on.
That's really what it was. I mean, at the same time, you have, I think you have Riley and Jonesy getting themselves back together as themselves. We are us. We are friends before anything else. And because at the end of Way to a Man's Heart, that's when they decide. Katie's decided, Riley's decided I can't be with just you. I can't if it's either one or both of us. And Katie's like, yeah, you guys are on your own. We all need to do other things.
But also reminding them that, hey, this is a good thing for you.
You can go get all the big city slams.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about getting in trouble.
So this is the beginning of the journey of Riley and Jonesy finding themselves. I don't know if there will ever be a time where they will find themselves individually.
No.
But
no. Those two are two of a kind. Is that the word?
Yeah. But the favorite quote, highest scored quote in this episode was,
"You want to kind of chaps my ass more than just a little wee bit when people use big words to sound smart. It's far more smart and efficient to use small words. Save your breath for something more important, like chorin or toe curling."
Especially toe curling.
I think I know what you're incinerating's at here, Wayne. And I want you to know I take great solace in working through all the conflictions that come from the King and Queen's English.
Shall I call you an ambliance, Dan? Or better yet, a wambliance?
The library has lots of choice literature to help you through your confliction, Dan.
Well, the library's full of choice literature.
Irregardlessly. Espresso.
Ooh, now that one's so wrong, it might as well be right. In any event, the decision on what happens to the package is Daryl's and Dan's, not mine and Katie's. But you did the right thing, Dan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your support.
Now, all of that, the actual quote that was voted as favorite quote was, "Save your breath for something more important like chorin or toe curling."
Yeah.
But you had to have that whole piece because that was just great.
Yeah. That whole fucking thing is classic vaudeville.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get into a discussion of exactly what Wayne understands.
Yes.
Well, I liked it because what I see, I understand. Whereas everything else I've seen today, I don't understand.
So autistic.
Yeah, that's very true, right? Like, and everything, like, I don't think any of us understood anything that's happened before, right?
But
like, except for, well, I like Gail's.
But in particular,
honest,
the reason why what Wayne said was so important to me is because that is very much what any person I've ever met on the spectrum, what they would say about something like that. I like what I understand. And I understand what you just did.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand this other stuff and I can't process it well because I don't understand it. I don't like it. And that's why a lot of people, a lot of people like me who are what society would call high functioning, which is not a word that I like to use very much, but I don't present to society as what society would think of as someone with autism. And, I think that right there is really what you can catch it on, because I always called myself weird or quirky, or like I was very picky about my food. It wasn't that. It was I had trouble processing certain foods. I had trouble, and it wasn't like it would be the texture or the smell, and it wasn't anything tangible.
Or it could be even a combination of smells.
It can be a combination of smells, and
so
that's not,
things that you could eat individually.
Yeah,
but not together.
It's me too long now, 13 years. That's very true. It's like when you ask me what do you want for dinner, and I'm like, I can tell you what I don't want.
It does make it a little easier for deductive purposes.
Sometimes.
So, yeah. But yeah, that was I think the community coming back together.
Yeah.
That's what that was. Everybody
was fighting for all of the episodes before in this season, and then this episode, especially at the end when they're all supporting Derry.
Right.
It really was kind of that reunification of the team.
True. And how and the way they moved on from there, still, now they've moved from settling some differences to now maybe throwing a little different type of conflict in there with the next episode.
Right. Who's your favorite character in this episode?
Oh, Wayne.
See, I love Glenn because of what you just did.
Well, again, that's kind of the yin and yang of that. The Glenn uncomfortableness to make Wayne uncomfortable, and Wayne is when the McMurrays are up there, and he's hitting the button and trying to find it because he's got his eyes covered.
Okay, because I would not have pushed the button on that one. If that had really been happening in front of me, I would have been like, trying not to pay attention.
But it's also Wayne, that when he talks about that, him coming out saying, "This is who I am." He's kind of explaining himself in the best way that he can.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that is a huge point for Wayne. Mm-hmm. So that's why I picked Wayne for this. So
I get that. He really did.
He's done some emotional labor this episode, this season.
He summed himself up really well right there.
Yeah.
I would agree that a lot of this season is Wayne kind of understanding who he is and what he wants out of life, and what that is going to look like, and it might not look the way that he thought it was going to look, and it's kind of freaking him out.
Yeah.
And I think this episode just takes all of that and puts kind of a pinpoint on it. Look, Wayne, all of these things are happening around you and you can't stop them, and they make you uncomfortable. And finally, your friend is there and you can help your friend and everything is fine.
Yep.
That's that whole episode is that's Wayne's life. This is what he needs.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and that leads us in right to the next one, which
absolutely.
The Letterkenny Leave, which we did with our guest host Genesis Nunley, who was wonderful to have on, and our musical guest Lizzie Boredom. Fuck, they were awesome.
Love them.
So yeah, this episode is in a nutshell is the McMurrays are having a hot tub party to try to see who's in the lifestyle,
who's interested in joining the lifestyle.
Right. And then the hockey players know the new season is right around the corner, and they got to start working out, and
those games.
Right. And they have their little, in recovery, it's not always straight up. There's going to be some back tracing. And so there's, their issue is, how are they going to go about it? Are they going to do the supplements, and get the non-native, what do they call it? The type of gains, where
I don't remember.
Not the unnatural gains,
Yeah.
the non-natural gains, because that's what they were. Let's just do with the natural gains. Oh, I'm not seeing any gains, buddy.
Right.
So, all that was so they were going to do steroids. So they visited the skids, and that's where that came from.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So my favorite term in this was soft pass. I had not heard this. I don't think you'd heard this before. You had to look it up.
I don't think I had. Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense just thinking about it because they say hard pass all the time. Well, what's a soft pass? I'm just not into it right now.
Normally I'd be into it. I just can't right
now.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really good thing for me to keep in my repertoire because I love being social when I can, but sometimes I can't. And I think that instead of saying, I would love to be able to do it, or maybe I can do it, check in with me, soft yes, soft pass. One of those.
So, then the favorite quote for this was from Mrs. McMurray.
Whatever you're into, that's what I always say.
Whatever you're into.
She's so fucking drunk.
Oh my God. Whatever you're into.
And in this episode, my favorite character was the McMurrays themselves.
Yes.
Because they're a unit, and they, when they're with each other, they're with each other. And
absolutely.
So they're ride or die bitches for each other.
I like that. It's true.
So, regardless of what they do on their own, they are always 100% in each other's pocket. So,
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And then, but the other thing we got in discussion about was Pastor's Glenn role. Go ahead.
And Glenn would be my probably favorite of this because there are so many really obvious hints that are dropped right literally in his lap.
Yeah.
And it takes a very long time for him to either figure it out or finally get to the point where he's like, okay, I can't really actually do this.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of what we talked about here.
Yeah.
So
I am fully comfortable saying that he knew that Gail was flirting with him.
Yeah.
I think when he realized that all of them were kind of thinking about it, he was like, well, but you're married and that's a sin, so I'm out.
Right.
So it was like he's kind of got soft lines himself when it comes to what could be a sin because, he wants to get close to Jesus and wine.
Right. I think he was definitely.
He was like partially down for Gail and then realized it was everybody and he was like, I can't do that.
Well, not only that, I think he was hoping for Lil Wayne.
He was definitely hoping for Wayne. Yes.
So up top, that's what he was hoping for.
It's sort of, it reminds me of like, because I know people like him in Texas, where it's very clear that he's there for Wayne, but he knows he's supposed to be there for Gail.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's okay with it. But I also do think he does have soft lines. But I also wonder, and like when I watched that part, especially them, it was just the fact that they had the closeted gay dude and the black woman. It was like they were being over-sexualized, but desexualized at the same time.
I would definitely agree with that too, because I mean, it was the quote unquote token characters that ended up in the very final scene with the McMurrays. So that was a very interesting one.
And I wonder if they do that just because of, I mean, it's kind of like why is, I know Lisa Codrington does a lot of other things, a lot of other acting. And so, she's kind of, she ends up having to be just out of, they want her around more, I'm sure, but
she's busy.
Yeah, and so is Jacob Tierney. He's directing and writing at the same time. So
technically, the actors themselves aren't available to be in more.
Right. So they end up having to be kind of
when they are available. They're kind of put together in a way. Because
maybe
I see that a lot.
Yeah.
They end up together in the bar a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah. So
something to ask if we ever get a chance to.
Yes. Hopefully soon.
I'll put someday. I don't even care about soon. Someday would be good enough for me.
Yes. And then let's see. So I had the McMurrays. You had Glenn. And so then we jumped to the season finale, not the last episode, but the season finale. Great day for Thunder Bay.
It's the Bay brothers coming home for hay. I can't. What's the whole like?
It's I don't remember all the shit that went on with that. And it was kind of all, in my opinion, a lot of throwaway stuff. I mean, there's some good good back, and we talked about this, and there is that, there's a lot of stuff that was going on in the episode that wasn't really talked about, but are really, there was a lot of things happening without it being part of the action.
Right.
So, I mean, the part of the action stuff was really just kind of, I mean, the parts that I cared about were, when Katie goes to get the pig from the res and she meets the two fellas there and,
Yep.
and has her chat with Tanis about him. And maybe you'll get, what is it? Maybe you'll come to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I think this whole episode, I mean, I know that it's Great Day for Thunder Bay, which is that party for the Bay brothers, but I really think this episode is just, will he or won't he, when it comes to what Wayne is going to do next.
Yes, and before we get too far, our guest host for this episode was Aaron Ferris, and our musical guest was the Highway Thieves.
Very cool.
Both awesome. Wonderful to have them on. Wonderful music. Oh, and my favorite character this episode.
Duh.
Tanis.
Mine too in this one. Holy shit. The way she goes from I'm just casual talking to Katie and then look at my boobs, Wayne. Hi.
Yeah. And so she goes
I have been that woman.
That's the highest ranked quote for this is,
"You trying to sneak a sunrise past a rooster, Tanis?"
I don't know, you're the one stuck between a cock and a hard place. You breast or thigh guy.
Whew. Yeah, and so like you said, it was a lot of did he or didn't he, and that's kind of what we talked about in that episode. So let's just use evidence what we have of Wayne so far. Knowing what we know about Wayne.
Knowing what we know, it feels like he should be uncomfortable with this idea, but seeing what we saw, I believe that he went for it.
Okay. Right. Just without if I was a fresh watcher of Letterkenny, had I not watched this episode 3 times and then knowing all the other stuff leading up to it, I would probably say, oh yeah, he went and fucked Tanis. But but knowing Wayne as well as we do, I would say, working logically as Wayne does, he and the things that he's specifically said before, the nod, and I think he has made up his mind at that point. He's leaving now to go
break up with Rose.
To go handle that.
See, and that's why we don't know. We're left to speculate.
Definitely working the logic. That's, I mean, any other person, I'd admit it, I'd probably be look
around.
So,
it's, I mean, big Tanis energy. It's hard to overcome.
Oh yeah, dude. Real man. So
yeah.
Always loving the big Tanis energy.
Yeah. Again, I need that shirt.
I
need that shit on like a tight low cut.
I think, honestly, I think Tanis needs her own show.
But I don't want to take her away from Letterkenny.
No, she could. I mean,
but Life on the Res could be a
a
spin-off show.
Totally.
I would watch that. I would fucking watch that in a heartbeat.
And they could have crossover episodes
all the time.
Yes. And so then finally, we end up with our holiday episode,
Hard Easter.
Yeah, Super Hard Easter, with our new good friend RJ Sundancer,
yes,
and our musical guest Greg Spencer. And so it's been how many years? 4 years since Darius got to lay out the Easter eggs.
Seems like it's been about 4 years.
So it's his turn to hide the Easter eggs, and he painted and hid all the Easter eggs and got super hammered. Glenn, on the other hand, has
because he doesn't have a flock.
Because he doesn't have a flock. He has no congregation. He cannot do a passion play. So
he desperately wants it.
And so he allows Riley and Jonesy to recruit themselves to his cause, like he didn't know what was going on.
Oh gosh. I want to point out that I love that Glenn hangs out in a gym when he's verklempt. Like he's like, I just need a break. I'm gonna sit right here and watch that. Yes.
He goes, oh, you're in a gym. Oh, am I? Oh, well, I didn't even notice.
As if somehow you could walk into a gym without somebody going, hi, are you a member? Hi, would you like to become a member?
Maybe they don't do that up in Canada.
Maybe not.
You don't need a membership to the basement.
Anyway.
So let's see. my favorite character in this episode was Glenn.
Oh God, yes.
He was dynamic and funny, and his role. So he's decided he needs to be Jesus and be judged and suffer, and
I love how he suffers.
Yes. So their first trip is leads us to the highest rated quote for the episode was when he goes to be judged by Coach, and we get this.
You probably call your asshole your penalty box. That is personal, not true, and a good idea.
Fucking A, right?
Hell yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
Oh. See, Coach supplied some of the best setups in this episode, because Glenn had a couple little like it was watching Glenn play off Coach was a lot of fun. Yes. I would like to see more of that.
Yes. Anything
Mark Forward and Jane Tierney.
Yes, more Mark Forward, please.
Yes.
We got into, at the end of it, a discussion of Rold's kinks.
So in this episode, what I saw was a more traditional Dom-sub relationship. I saw the sub trying to make the Dom happy. When they couldn't make them happy, they, helped make them comfortable and then tried to find something to make them happy. I spent this episode wanting to kick Stuart's ass, knowing full well that that's probably the relationship they have, and they are very happy with it. Because when Rold is flirting with anybody else, he's not subby.
No.
He's very like, hi.
Rolled the switch.
Well, I don't think it's a switch. He's still being on the, he's not dominant, but he is,
he can play the role.
He can play the role. He can, how do I explain? When I said earlier that I saw him as a brat, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
When he flirts, he wants to make someone either uncomfortable or very horny.
Yeah.
But when he's with Stuart, it's absolutely different.
So he's being a bratty sub.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah.
Whereas
I'm with you.
he's fully submissive.
I guess I am used to seeing more of the
traditional,
the female brat.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, there are millions of people out there that know kink way better than I do. This is just my, I don't know, middle school knowledge, not elementary knowledge, but
your perception, your perception based off of what you know,
what I know and who I know and what I've learned. And and that's just what I see there. Like, I feel like, half the time in public, Stuart is not in that role, but when he is in that mood, it's like, every time I'm mad at Stuart, it's usually because he's being an asshole to Rold. But if that's something that Rold likes, who am I to judge it?
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of came to in this episode.
Yeah. I think, their relationship is very interesting. I think, because, I mean, it's obvious Rold truly worships, loves, adores Stuart.
Oh, and the kiss scene too.
Yeah.
Where I've never loved thee as much as I do right now, or something like that. I feel like that was a real genuine moment. And Stuart was like, wait, we don't do this in front of people, and turned his head because he looked back at where everybody else was.
Just go catch up with the others.
Let's go catch up with the others. Yeah.
I feel like Stuart's perception of the relationship is very different than Rold's, because I honestly think that Stuart is not into dudes.
Yeah.
But he cares about Rold. Rold's like his best friend. He's his homie, But
Dom-sub relationships don't have to be sexual, though.
True.
They don't have to be a sexual thing. I mean, they live together. They
intimacy.
share their life. It's intimacy, but it's not necessarily sex.
Is it possible that Stuart isn't cognizant of the Dom-sub relationship? Is it possible that their relationship just manifests in that way?
That's possible.
That's kind of the way
I think Stuart he's got his own track, and
he's just kind of a selfish
person, totally, completely.
But also does care. People are complicated.
Yeah.
Is basically.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
So the more I think about it, the more I don't think Rold would put up with that much abuse without it being an established relationship, an established part of their relationship. I mean, he doesn't put up with, he's not with his dad anymore, who is abusive.
Yeah.
And
that's because Stuart also provides all the drugs.
True. That's very true.
So,
but
I don't know.
I don't feel like I really feel like this is an intentional thing between the two of them, that it's not just Stuart doesn't care and Roald is in love with him. That's my opinion.
Well, there's no doubting that Stuart is fucking selfish.
Well, yeah. But being selfish and being a top are two totally different things. He could be appearing that way to us, but really he's doing something that Roald wants him to do, which is treating him this way.
Yeah.
It might be something where, and I'm not going to pathologize it because that's just completely wrong. I'm not going to pathologize my own kinks, so I'm not going to do that for a character on a TV show. But I don't feel, with everything else being so intentional on this show, I don't feel like they have made a very honest representation of a dom-sub relationship by accident.
Okay.
So.
All right. I'll take anything.
I know.
It wouldn't surprise.
The sex stuff is where I get into it.
It wouldn't surprise me in either case.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why. And the one thing I didn't have listed in my notes is that one of the things that I'm planning on us doing here in the fairly near future is working with both Ryan Ingolstadt from Pop Psych 101 and Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss to do psychological evaluations on each of the characters and kind of discuss those things about how they all work and what they see, kind of from as people who don't really watch the show. And so I think that's a really cool idea. So that's the end of the season. So now let's get into some our cosplay contest, shall we? So we had 4 entries just in the last couple of days.
Everyone forgot about it, and then they were like, "Oh, wait."
You can get a free shirt.
Take advantage. And take advantage again. This is Halloween season.
Yeah.
You are probably doing a Letterkenny related Halloween costume because of course you are. Send us a picture. You might get a free t-shirt.
Yes. And granted, this is for September because we went all through, but the recap show ended up coming out
a little bit late because of the interview.
The day before it airs, the new season airs on Crave TV in Canada.
True story. And that was not on purpose.
Well, maybe kind of.
Okay, it was a little bit on purpose.
It's kind of how I have a Valentine's Day episode lined up to release the day before Valentine's
Day.
So anyway, we had 4 contestants. Brandon Wentz, who cosplayed as Wayne. Emily Justice, who cosplayed as Angie, or in Puck Bunny style. Tom Kennedy, who cosplayed as Shorzy. And Steve Jones, who cosplayed as Wayne. So we're going to look through those real quick. So this first one we got here is Brandon. All right.
The one on the end there?
The one on the end.
All right. Nice.
Then we've got Emily as Angie.
Saw this one before. Yeah. Okay.
Then we've got Steve Jones as Wayne.
Nice. Okay.
And then Tom Kennedy as Shorzy. You like that one?
I'm sorry. The fact that he's covered his face is just, I don't know why that just tickles my funny bone. But I mean, it's just fucking perfect. I was looking at going, how is someone going to cosplay Shorzy? I mean, he's naked most of the time, but covering his face and having that terrible wig, shit. Okay.
It's for me, because I've seen some of these before, from either Instagram or other posts on the Webernets. And my honest opinion, I mean, they're all great. There's no doubt, but I think my favorite is Angie. I mean, because she's like so spot on.
Yeah. In my head, I was trying to decide between the one that made me laugh so hard and the Angie, because like, if I didn't know that was a cosplayer, I would
assume it was the actress.
It was almost the same. Like, I don't know if that scarf is the same, but I need to figure it out because that's fantastic.
I mean, it's pretty great. So looking at these, for me, I honestly, I think Emily's is the best. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
I think they're all fantastic, but Emily's was so spot on. And sometimes I really like a cosplay to just represent it, but that was so close. Like, she obviously paid attention, and it looks so casual.
And that wasn't her only one. She sent me 2. I picked one. to represent. And I'm like, that was, she's worked on that cosplay for some time. So, yeah, I think she did great.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Everyone was great. This one just,
do it again. Take another picture in a different pose, and you can enter next month.
Next month. Well, yeah, you can enter again for this upcoming season. So, that will be coming, whatever we do at the end of October. So, thank you to Brandon, Tom, and Steve. You did great, but congratulations to Emily Justice for being our winner for the end of season 4. I will reach out to you to get your address so we can ship you a cool shirt or something. All right. And then real quick before we drop off and head out to you to hear the interview with Patrick McNeil. We've got the season 7 drops coming. So this comes out on the 10th. So tomorrow, if you're in Canada,
if you're listening to this as it's dropped,
right. If you're listening to this the day it drops, tomorrow in Canada on Crave TV, you'll be able to watch season 7. A few days later on Hulu on the 14th, and then and I got this from the folks who
Australia.
Who were representing Patrick, that we got the dates for Australia, which is the next day, October 15th, on SBS Viceland or SBS On Demand. So they're finally getting everything.
So cool. Australia, get ready. You're going to have so much fun.
Hell yeah. I can't wait to hear some chirps coming from down under.
Absolutely. Oh, before we forget.
Yes.
What happened to K. Trevor Wilson this weekend?
He got engaged.
Congratulations. We think that you are one of the most awesome people in the whole wide world, and you deserve all of the happiness, and I'm so happy for you.
And you were so adorable in your picture.
Absolutely so adorable. Go check out his Instagram because it's so cute.
He is okay. They're this cast is completely wonderful. And
oh my gosh.
So and even the ones who don't speak.
It's true.
So so stay tuned. Right next will be our interview with Patrick McNeil. All right, everybody, enjoy yourself.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome back to the special edition of How Are You Now? Today we've got an amazing interview, our second interview with the cast member, with and another skid, yes, because those are our crew, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Today we've got Patrick McNeil, who plays Connor, the vaping and silent skid, and he's joined us so we can ask him your questions and our questions and all that kind of stuff. So, Patrick, how are you now?
I'm good, and you?
Not so bad.
Yay!
You do, even the skids do the answer right.
Only McMurray.
Well, I'm not allowed to, but
Yeah.
You know it. You just can't say it.
So
yeah, I say it in my head with my mind and my telekinesis because I'm a skid. We got all that.
So tell us about how the part of Connor came to you.
Okay, so I was at a skate park, just sitting there, and then my friend from college, Blaise Boissonneau, he came up and said, "Yo, they're doing this for Letterkenny. It's like a YouTube show they had, or whatever he was saying. He's like, and they're doing these things called skids, and like they're meth heads, and they live in a basement and play video games." I'm like, "Dude, that's my role." So I popped up my board, and I went home and I tried out for Tyler and Evan's role. I tried out for Roald, and I tried out for Stuart. And they didn't give me those roles, but then the casting director at the time, I think, was Melissa Smith, and she called me up and said, "Would you like to be a continuity skid, meaning you'll get your face shown and all that stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I always wanted to be an actor. I'll get on a TV show. Cool." So I get on there, and then I meet Tyler, I meet Evan, and then I meet Danny, who I'm going to college with anyways. He's just a year below me.
Nice. And
then we were waiting in the background holding room and whatever, and then we went to go do our scene and go dance in front of the church there in the first season with when Alex DeJordy was there and everything. The guy plays Devin.
Yep.
And Jacob came out and he gave me the gas mask and he just said, like, "Put this on." So I put it on and he was laughing and howling, and that's how it all started. And then the character development of how Connor was to be is like from season 1 all the way till now.
Excellent.
Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, we've definitely seen some growth, or definitely an arc in your characters over
names and everything.
Yeah, exactly. You got names. Yeah, we talked about that. Is that I think I don't remember the exact episode, but this is because we do trivia for every episode, and we said this was the first episode in which Connor and Darian are named, and so we kind of compile our trivia, and every so often, if I can, because I'm really the producer, editor, operator of this. So when I do, I'll do a trivia Tuesday every so often and put something together to put things like that in. So so especially things like this where we can get some little background stuff from you guys, we can add a little more spice to the trivia.
I love that you just said that no one can see it, but he just did the spice meme.
Doing the little spice, the sprinkle and the salt.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with them. The kids are just they're just too on it nowadays.
I don't even try.
I feel like I'm an old man with a cane.
You do. I'm a teacher. They'll say stuff and I'm like,
geez.
I don't know if I should be offended or not by that yet. I need to go and look this up.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a 16-year-old son and a 20-year-old daughter, and they're constantly sending me things. I'm like, I don't get this. Can you explain this?
I'm 30 now, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah, 50 and just kind of
loving it.
I try to keep up.
He does better than I do, actually. Surprisingly.
That's good though.
Like he'll say something and I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? And he'll be like, oh, it was something Evan sent me. I don't understand that at all.
So yeah,
great.
So on I follow you on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm sure you probably have other places we can follow you on, but we'll get to that in a second. But on your Twitter account, your Patrick Plywood McNeil. What did the plywood part come from?
Okay, here we go. So when I got into the industry, I was first to locations. I was assistant locations, whatever. I was doing it for The Amazing Race back in 2015. And then I got into this show called The Stepchild as an art department trainee or whatever. So we're just painting. Danny was on the theme too, actually, the other skid. And we were painting all these rooms. And then I had my posters for DSBT TV, my old web series I used to do with all my buddies and the other guys that I used to shoot Dirt Squad and Blacktooth stuff with, which was like all skateboarding and stunts. I'll get to that later on. But I met a Key Grip, and I was passing out posters for DSBT TV, and he saw one, and it was me falling off a ladder, a 6-step ladder through pieces of plywood, because it was a sketch I did called The Clumsy Repairman. And I didn't dress up like a repairman. I just climbed up the ladder and just fell. That's what, and it's just to represent, like, I used to do backyard wrestling and stuff, and that's always been my type of humor, like wrestling and CKY and Jackass and all that stuff. And then he hired me, and he got me on a bunch of shows. And then everybody has like a tech. Usually they'll either call me Patrick or they'll call me Plywood.
All right then.
Nice.
Yeah, I knew there had to be. So, and kind of getting into, I'm gonna switch over to another question that we had that's from which you've already seen from Keith and Heather Mackey from on Twitter for. Yeah. So there's being huge DSBTTV fans, and I need a definition of what that means, but we want to know who he would give the ultimate chair shot to, and who would he like to receive one from, and why?
I don't know who I'd want to really give a chair shot to. Anyone, like, if I was a trained wrestler, anyone who's down to have a wrestling match with me, I guess, because I'm not really I don't really want to be a violent guy. I listen to a lot of like metal and stuff, but I'm not violent at all. But if I was in the backyard and everything with my brother or like my other buddy Pete, yeah, I'd give them a nice stiff chair shot because they know what's coming from me. It's with love, So.
Well, what's the DSBT TV?
And DSBT TV, it's Dirt Squad Blacktooth Television.
Okay.
And the acronym was really funny with people because like I try to get people when I was trying to promote it, like just make up your own acronyms and send it to me. I never really got any, but like. My friends and me were all sitting around a campfire having some drinks one night, and then we all just kept making up our own. And then my buddy Joe said that one I just said earlier, and it stuck with me, and I thought that was hilarious. I laughed for like 5 minutes. I don't know why it was so funny. It was funny now, but it really was funny then. So I don't know, but it's Dirt Squad Blacktooth Television because I used to run with a crew. We did stunts together called Dirt Squad, and then a skateboarding crew we used to all skate together called Blacktooth. So I kind of tried to combine it all together because all those guys in DSBT TV were part of all that stuff.
Nice.
And I've known all those guys 15 plus 20 years, like a guy named Peter Klein, Cody Armstrong, Joe Hollins, And there's a guy named Max Fryerl who I haven't seen in a few years, but his name's Fryer, but I call him Fryerl because he misspelled his name on Facebook for like 6 months and didn't even notice. And he put an L at the end of his last name. Yeah. And we just always been rolling. I've still been rolling with him actually for a long time. And then Peter, he had his birthday a few weeks ago. I was rolling with him. He's actually shooting my comedy sketches right now that I'm gonna like release soon.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, and then the part who you would like to receive one from?
A chair shot?
Yeah.
Oh, they're both dead, but Balls Mahoney from ECW or Axel Rotten, because those guys could swing a fucking chair. Holy shit! Back in the day. God damn it. You could hear it. Like, you hear the echo. Like, the whole crowd would go silent. And then once they smash it over, like, I don't know, it was like Chris Candido's head or like Steve Carino or something, everyone's just, oh, ECW. I love that shit. It was great. I'm a huge wrestling fan, by the way. Kind of like K-Trev.
Nice.
Yeah, I've seen that. There's a lot of crossover between.
Do you know about the video game where
yeah, that's because he's seen the
so
characters.
Cool.
But I see a lot of crossover between Letterkenny fans and wrestling fans. I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
So the cast and crew actually are like really, like, if you go up and ask them like wrestling, probably about 5 or 6 out of 10 chance they're going to say yes, they watch it.
Yeah. It's
or had back in the day anyways.
Yeah. I remember, as a kid watching the Von Erichs. This was before WWE was even a thing. So, or WWF.
WWF.
Right. before the pandas, before the pandas took over.
But yeah, I was always into ECW or Combat Zone Wrestling from Philadelphia, because like it was all extreme and like just stuff you would never like imagine seeing, and it's like, holy fuck, man, they did that. Like, that's tremendous, like, beautiful, hats off. And I tried it out when I was younger too as a backyard wrestler, which is it was a little painful, but I took a lot of chair shots in my day back in high school. Went through a few tables. I've been through some thumbtacks. My cousin smashed me in the head with a sign. I got busted open.
Jesus.
We came to Thanksgiving dinner with a big cut on our head, and then like my Aunt Kim, like I was saying to you guys earlier before we recorded, she was like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" It was great. Fun Thanksgiving. 15 Octobers ago.
There's a lot of gray hairs, I'm assuming, came out of that situation.
Oh yeah.
Because it sounds like something that your son would do right now, pretty much, or a couple of years ago for sure.
Yeah, well, if it revolves
around
football, yeah. If it revolves around football, then yes.
He and his best friend used to try and play tackle football in the TV room, and
they would play. Yeah, it was about how hard the other one could plug the other one another in the gut, basically, and then make the touchdown into the couch.
Which, in my head, is backyard wrestling, because that's really what they were doing.
And basically, it was, because it was like try to get by or just force his way through, and because they're both the friend of Evans, my son, he who was his uncle, he was living with, was a football player, a running back for the Seattle Seahawks at the time.
Oh,
and so
at the time they met,
right?
Yeah.
And
the kids are still friends, but uncle is
Robert Turbin has
done now?
I don't know, he's moved from, I think he went from here to the Colts and then down to, I think, San Diego or something like that. But so they were both super football heads, and they still are. Yeah. So
I wouldn't even know what a touchdown is. I don't really watch too much sports.
Well, isn't a touchdown that drink with vodka and some kind of energy drink?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, because it's mostly just, the ideal sport up there is hockey anyway, right?
Yeah, I'm not. I used to be when I was a kid, but like, I don't know, just wrestling and skateboarding really stuck with me. I've been skateboarding since I was 10, and I was actually ripping around before I got on the podcast with you guys.
Yeah.
Hence my sweaty hair that you saw there, Diener.
Oh yeah.
And and then wrestling too. I don't know. Wrestling was it was a time where me, my brother, my dad always bonded. Like in Oklahoma, the most, like the WWF Attitude Era, when Stone Cold would come out. It was like my dad was my dad, but Monday nights Stone Cold was my fucking dad.
Nice.
Like, it was teaching me the ways. It was great, and like it's just stuck with me. I don't watch it too much nowadays, but I'm getting into that AEW. Like I think his name is Cody. He's like running it. It sounds like really, really intense. Trying to bring back like the classics of wrestling, like with the old school fans like me or any other 30 or 40-year-old used to watch it, like would want to see now. Because like it's all PG era. I don't want to see PG era stuff. I still want the old wrestling that I always know,
Yeah. Well, I grew up with I grew up with Fritz von Erich and the Von Erich. So this was like early 80s.
Andre the Giant.
And no, this was before.
That was mine. That was me watching TV and going, he's so cool.
This was before WWF got big, or even I don't even know if WWF was a thing at that time.
The Von Erichs were traveling.
They were out of Texas.
Before it was.
Fritz von Erich was wrestling from the 50s, and he did
he
did the claw thing, and then he
I remember that.
Yeah, he had all these sons. 5 of them, and I think all but one have died, mostly, and they're mostly because of suicide, unfortunately.
Tragic.
I think they just had so many concussions, CTE, and which has been known to be a killer.
Yep.
So,
and it's silent too. You don't know about it. Like you don't know if you have it. It just comes.
Yeah, and you definitely didn't know about it back then.
Oh, God, no.
So
now that I think about chair shots to my own head, I'm like, oh no, am I in for that?
Yeah.
Oh God.
The number of times I hit my head when I was playing roller derby, and then like my chronic migraines for so long, I'm like, is there something in there that I did that I should not have done?
Yeah, maybe, but like you can't think about that. You got to keep going with your life, just keep doing it. And if something happens, then you just got to work around it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is. Yeah.
And I think, because I think hockey really is like the last holdout of not agreeing that CTE is a thing. From my understanding. And speaking of which, have you ever been confused with the Patrick McNeil hockey player from up there? He's got 2 L's in his last.
There was a Patrick McNeil hockey player. That's great.
I thought it was funny because I was
say it wasn't me. It's the other Patrick.
It's the hockey player Patrick, and he's got an extra L. There's a problem with him.
Not Skid Patrick, hockey Patrick.
So yeah, I thought it was funny because I was trying to research you, and what I find interesting about a lot of the Canadian actors is there's not a lot of information out there
because Canadians don't think of them as property like Americans do.
Yeah. So it's hard to research. It was much easier to research Tyler.
Right.
Because he's had some crossover into the American acting.
Like Supernatural.
Yeah. And so,
yeah.
So I was able to find some stuff about him. So I was trying to do some research just so I would know some things, aside from, what you have on social media.
He likes to be really prepared.
I try. But
I'm Mr. Underground, I really like that.
but I came across this Patrick McNeil with 2 L's, who's a hockey player from Ontario. So
2 L's? No, I can't blame anything on him. I only have 1 L.
I mean, you can say it's a typo or not a typo, depending on which way it ends in your favor.
Exactly. Yeah, if they come with, they say it's 2 L's, and then you could blame it on them that way. And if they say with 1 L, then you say it's got to be the hockey player guy. I saw him over at that other place.
Yeah, he dunks his donut, man.
He doesn't like Timbits.
For my own actions. I'm all just joking around here. But still,
That's what we do. It's all good.
It's all lighthearted.
I know.
So you said that you weren't acting when you auditioned for Letterkenny. Have you been acting for a long time, or is Letterkenny one of your first acting on screen jobs?
Yeah, Letterkenny is like my first, pretty much. I've auditioned for a lot. I have an agent now and everything, but like before, I was getting into the industry. I was in college. I went to TV broadcasting, and then I went to cinematography. Got 2 diplomas. Oh yeah, look at me, Mr. Fancy. I did, and then like pretty much the day after, like I graduated, I was having my graduation party, and then like before I got into it, like the LK office just called me, and I just started it. So like I'm so grateful and blessed and thankful every day that like I got that call because it started me. Like Letterkenny, Jacob, Jared, all those guys, like they got me started on this path that I'm taking. Since I was 15, I've always wanted to take this path, and then now it's actually happening, and it's really, really like it's almost so surreal to live almost every day, like and see everything grow, and like how much attention I'm starting to get with my own stuff. I'm like, wow, dude, like I'm really blessed and thankful for all that stuff. Like, and everybody on that show, cast, crew, it doesn't matter, past, present, beauties, love them all, love their work, great.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, with everything that I've heard about Jared, and as nice as he is, I can't imagine that you couldn't be a really good person and be on that show.
Right.
So
no, it's always chill, and they don't tolerate bullshit. If you're a bullshitter and you're causing like, bad vibes for the whole crew and stuff, they're just gonna be like, no, don't. Like, we're trying to keep this like a family like type thing, so we can all joke around. We all know who's coming from where and everything, and just like, just happy good times. Because a lot of film sets I've been on, it's all animosity. I've done a lot of as a tech, like electric or grip, and like a lot of people, everyone gets stressed out because everyone's worked into the ground, and like it's like 15-20 hour days or whatever, and like it's little pay, like all the stuff's all cut off. But Letterkenny, they're just like, oh, like we have banker's hours for all our techs. We all get turnaround. We all have time to like hang out, know each other, have a drink after work, and then like, wake up and do it all over again the next day for 5 days a week for like 20 days, 22 days, depending on how long the series is for that, block. And it's amazing. I love it so much. Like, I'm so stoked for the next one, like big time. I live for this now. Like, it's
so you just finished season 7. Is that correct?
Yeah. Because 7's about to come out.
7's about to come out.
I believe like it's all mixed up. Like it's block A, block B, everything. I do tech stuff and I do acting, so I'm all over the place. But yeah, with the one that they're coming up, we just finished. Yeah. Which one are you guys talking about? Because I don't know which ones.
So season 7 is the one that's coming out. You have the notes.
October 11th on Crave, October 14th.
Yes, October 11th on Crave, and then 14th for Hulu.
And by the way, and I know that the Australians are now on board with the streaming. Yeah. What do we know when they're getting it? If we don't,
I'm not too sure. I have to recheck, but like I'm pretty sure it's very soon.
Yeah. I would imagine. So we'll find it and put it in the show notes either way.
We know we do have a few followers who are in Australia and really excited that it's going to be coming there.
Now, where were we?
You were about to ask the question from the guy in England.
Oh, yes.
I also had the question. And
so, multiple people have asked this question. It says, in the commentary version of Letterkenny, both Jacob and Jared compliment you and Danny for your roles. I just wondered how much, if any, of what you do is improvised.
What we do as improvised is like, no, Jacob usually, he tells us what's up and tells us what to do, but we kind of do our own play on it. And then if he likes it, he'll keep telling us to do it and say, that's great, guys. And then if he doesn't, he'll be like, no, that's too much movement, too distracting. So just try to stop with this, but keep doing what you're doing. It's pretty much what he does. And we work pretty well with him with it. And he never really says no about our stuff that we have in mind, because we're always just trying to stay into the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It seems like that Jacob would be pretty open. I mean, it seems like his comedic ideals are pretty
spot on.
Yeah. I mean, he's so, and
I'm somebody who doesn't like a lot of comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys don't really do cringe comedy like a lot of like so many other sitcoms do. So it's good to, it's, and I've noticed from watching interviews with Jared that, he doesn't like bullying, which is definitely standing out. I mean, as far as, when people get bullied, the bullies are generally those that are the degens from upcountry. Mm-hmm. So
I'm not all about that either. I don't really like doing comedy at people's expense. I mean, it can be funny to watch depending on how someone's delivering it, but it's not my style. I like the anti-comedy stuff myself. That's what I usually do for like DSPT TV and what I've always done for like since I was 15. So I don't know. It's just making fun of just random things in life, not like a particular person or like where they come from, their background or whatever. Like, what's the point of doing all that when you can do something so much funnier, more creative if you just think outside the box of things?
Yeah.
You can make it like comedies. There's no limits. You can just make it absurd as fuck. Right. And then just go with it. You don't have to be like, oh, I gotta be a bully to be funny. That doesn't make sense to me.
When we were talking about acting jobs earlier, do you have like a dream acting job that you would like to do, or do you prefer to be behind the scenes?
I want to be an actor, but I want to be a comedian is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Like stand up?
Yeah, I've done stand up a few times. It's just only a few have been recorded and I have to find it, but I was just starting then. So nowadays I know that like I know that there's like a big process to it. It takes a lot of practice, and my bits that I would do were only practiced for about 2 or 3 days because I was only doing amateur nights. But now, since I've been getting more into it, I've been writing like bits and like practicing them, recording them, And then I just kind of go with it because like once you go on stage and you know it all in your head, like that microphone's power, like you run the room, you know what I mean?
True.
Yeah.
And if I start bombing, I just make fun of my genitals, you know, and then everyone laughs.
So are you
way to go. Yeah.
are you getting tips from like K Trevor and Mark Forward?
Yeah, I talked to K-Trev about it. Mark Forward actually is a big inspiration of mine. I used to watch him when he was on the John Doerr television show, and I found out he wrote a little bit of it as well. And he's done a lot of things that I don't remember that I've seen him, but I saw him and I'm like, wow, I'm working with this guy now. That's freaking awesome. And Mark's he's a gemstone. He's hilarious. Big teddy bear.
Oh my God.
Always making everyone laugh on set. Yeah.
Yeah. Those two
K-Trev,
guys.
I always shoot the shit with. Yeah, everyone makes me laugh on that one. Just K-Trev, I talk to a lot about wrestling and everything, and like I always congratulate him on like all his accomplishments in comedy that he's done now, because like he's really come a long way since he's first started. Like he beat Jimmy Carr for fuck's sakes at a roast battle. Like holy fuck, that's big, you know.
Yeah, right.
He beat Jimmy Carr. Like
that's trivia
hats
right
off.
now.
I'm clapping for him.
That is trivia that I need to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the Jeff Ross roast battle. I'm not sure what it was, or just for last one.
Yeah.
But like it was broadcast. You got the trophy and everything. I was super stoked for him.
Yeah, he's. Which it's funny because I know Mark Forward wins all of the awards, so it sounds like K Trev's picking up.
I almost choked on my supper when I watched that one. He really killed me.
Oh, I even listened to his podcast, which is so absurd. And I love it. He's so clever at all the. I mean, like even the bit about the fancy hats and
the dish ran away with the spoon bit.
Oh my God, I don't know where you think of so. It's almost the absurd style of Douglas Adams. You know, where you just kind of come up. How do you think of that kind of thing? It's crazy.
Exactly. That's the type of comedy that that's why I'm really inspired by him. I'm also inspired by Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim from they do Tim and Eric awesome show, great job on Adult Swim. They do a bunch of other stuff, but like I'm really like influenced by that type of stuff, like really absurd comedy, because like I've just been absurd my whole life. So I'm like, might as well just try to get paid for it, you know?
One of us.
Yeah, exactly.
So
no, go on. You guys are asking the questions. I'm just flapping my gums here.
We like to do conversations. We're not.
Yeah, we'll have a question and definitely riff off of that. So it's no big deal. I love the chat, and
we like to treat people like they're actually people and not just read a list of notes.
I mean, we do have questions for sure, but I mean, let's get to our Patreon subscriber questions, so that because we have Patreon subscribers who we give them a little extra. So, and actually, our first one is from Valerie Lopez, who does the Comedy Wham podcast, and she's interviewed K-Trev a couple of times and the entire cast when they were down there for ATX. And she does an amazing, check her out at comedywham.com. They have an amazing comedy podcast, stand-up comedy podcast for those.
I would like to do that. Yes, I will check her out.
Yeah, she's out of Austin, Texas. So it's all the comedians that go through Austin, and so she's constantly with them. But she says, as a non-speaking character, this is kind of getting back to what we were. Do you take liberties with your character to give yourself an identity? So that kind of goes back to what we were asking earlier. So it's more about, how much leeway do you have?
Or is there anything specific that you do?
Yeah. I mean, so if you have, and if you had to have a speaking scene with any of the Letterkenny characters on the show, who would it be with, and what would you talk about?
I think it would be with the Skids, and it would just be talking Skid stuff. But my thought on me and Danny's Skids as we're silent, I thought it would be funny if we saw our inner dialogue, and we never talk though. We just speak with our minds, only to me and him.
Yes.
And we say all this really, really intelligent shit, but we never say it out loud when it's it would make sense in our situation, how to solve and resolve everything, but they never hear us because we don't speak. Me and Danny just talk in our minds to each other. No, we don't tell Stuart that.
Well, and that lends itself, because I've said a number of times how Shakespearean fool-like the Skids are. They're they're clever, but they're dumb at the same time. but I mean, the language like that Stewart and Rold speak, I mean, is very eloquent, and you know, it's and so I would imagine if you you and Darian talked, that's what it would sound like. So yeah, and I was kind of thinking about that today, of just kind of putting captions under you looking back and forth at each other. That would be hilarious. And the other thing I thought is, you know, the day that you talk is the day you leave the show. So and I was like, no, that we can't be. So we don't want
thought about that too ourselves. Like, we just have this big monologue at the end of Letterkenny. We just say, and like all the stuff that the whole series went through, and we have our opinion on it, and then like it just ends. Like, me and him thought about that one time. And actually, a locations guy, his name was Anthony. He does it sometimes too on Letterkenny. He thought of a funny idea where it was like, if we did just silent skits, me and him dressed in our skid uniform, but like 50s style. And you know, where you see like the screen missing and stuff, where it says like, a kid's bit of ale. Like, I'm looking at a bar and I have my finger on my lip or something, and I'm looking at the bar sign, and then what I'm saying is in like a slide. But I thought it'd be funny if we did sketches like that, but throughout Letterkenny, and like we were just part of that. Like, if I could do it for YouTube or something, or like, I don't know, make my own thing, or definitely. I don't know. I think that'd be hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was just an idea that he had, and I was like, dude, that's really funny. I might think about that.
Yeah,
I'm like, pitch it to Jacob.
Yeah, the skids are definitely, you know, for me anyway, probably my favorite group of the group. I mean, even though I grew up kind of hick. I mean, I'm from Texas. I grew up on a 360-acre ranch, so I've got that. I've definitely got the hick in me.
We had an episode a long time ago where we talked about where we thought that we would fit in, and I was like part skid, part native, and you were like, I'm hick, but I don't want to be.
So yeah, I was kind of hick skid because I was also, even though I was a hick, I was listening to Metallica and all that hair metal stuff that was in the 80s,
and all the video games that you guys talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of cross over into both of those things. I think that's kind of how Stewart is too, because he's got the Bay brothers as his cousins, so which are definitely all hick. So I think he probably crosses over more than that he cares for, because like even in the Valentine's episode where he and Wayne are out of the hockey rink and shooting pucks, and so there's a kind of this conglomeration of hockey, skid, hick all in one right there.
Yeah. Huh.
So
I know I'm all skid because of just, I walked in pretty much the first day and they just said, change your shirt. And then they put a little bit of makeup on me where a gas mask was over my face anyway. And I just like, Jacob was like, put on your resume, will show up in wardrobe. Pretty much did. I wear it every day. I wear camo every day in a band shirt, and they just said, take that band shirt off because we don't have the rights, so put this one on you. And it was all bands I used to tour with when I was in Sign of the Raven.
So the other question that Valley had was, who do you, and this would probably go for Darian as well, I don't know if the answer would be, but I'm guessing it would be, who do you love more, Sturt or Roldy?
I love them both the same, and I wish I could hug them more because they seem like they got a lot of problems as Roldy and Stewart, you know. I just want to hug their problems all the way.
Yeah.
But Tyler and Evan, they're fucking awesome. I love those dudes.
Oh,
Evan's a cool shark.
Yeah, I follow Evan also on Twitter, and he seems like a sweetheart of a guy. All of you guys seem sweet. And I would love.
He's very nice.
Yeah, I'd love to hang out with all of you. And yeah, because if we ever make it up that way someday, I'd love to. I'd love to come to the set and just watch you guys be amazing. So one of these days, I'll
one day, man.
One day,
if you can talk to Jared, maybe, I don't know, you might get you guys on.
You know,
what a dream would that be?
Yeah, those are my two. I'm totally afraid to get folks.
Tierney and
Teo Horn and Cherokee. So just because I am so
starstruck.
Yes, very much. I mean, Teo for different reasons. I mean, she's got some amazing activism. There's all that she does in her podcast, Coffee with My Ma, which I listen to, and she's just so driven. And I mean, I'm not saying that
she is.
So yeah, even I mean, just in everything she is about, and then
Tannis is the role for her because I think because she's super like strong, super empowered, and like it's how she actually is too. Like she's in her ways, and that's just how she is, and she's amazing to work with. I've had a few laughs with her before. I'm usually a tech a lot, so I'm working on lighting and everything. But when I'm skidding and they're in the green room or whatever, I like to have a good conversation with them. Because when you're an electric or whatever, you don't really you do get time, you get downtime, but like you're putting up lights and stuff like that. So you got to focus on one job, and then another day you're focusing on like, your skid job. Yeah. It's kind of weird doing both, but like, it's got to pay the bills,
True.
But I do like both, but I would rather be a skid like the rest of my
life. Yeah. I mean, cause I'd love to interview Evan, just like I have you and Tyler, because
there isn't a single person who is on that show that we wouldn't completely fan over.
I mean, we have ones that we're like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that I would be probably the most embarrassed if I found out that K. Trevor Wilson actually listened to us, considering the number of times I talk about wanting to sleep with him. But other than that,
so we do this game, and it's just with the characters, and it's not with
it's not real people. It's the character in that episode.
It's our own version of Fuck, Marry, Kill, and it's for and it's made to be Letterkenny based. It's called Fuck, Fight, Ferda. And so
it's fantastic.
Fuck is fuck. Fight because we don't want to kill anybody, and this is what Wayne does. He scraps, and Ferda because it's for the boys. So that's kind of they're your friend. So it's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Tiara loves big burly bearded guys who make her laugh, and but we both always fawn over Tannis.
Oh God.
Because she is just so badass.
Yeah.
So but
make sure Hasbro is listening because they're going to steal your guys' idea, guaranteed.
Trademark.
But Milton Bradley, I think that's another one that does game boards. I'm pretty sure. I forgot.
Fuck, Fight, Verda coming next to you by Milton Bradley.
Most of the game companies that I know are not big anymore. They're all
they're not Cards Against Humanity.
They've all went under because
Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah,
they're not like a huge thing like Milton Bradley was.
Oh yeah. True.
The technology's out there now. People are like, I don't play board games anymore. I got Words with Friends. It's pretty much like Scrabble. So it's
Well, there's a lot of games that are becoming.
Play it on your phone.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that are becoming mixed between an app and a physical game too, and like a lot of things are coming out for like people who play D&D to be able to have that in more of a non-paper. Like people are getting away from paper games, like cardboard and token games. They're going away. That's what I feel like.
I'd rather play old school board games than on the app because when I try it on the app, it always tells you you're wrong. I'm like, stop telling me I'm freaking wrong.
Exactly.
Totally.
We spell color with a U.
It's always better. Yeah, exactly. It's always better when your friends tell you you're wrong instead because they can make fun of you in your own personalized character. Like, it's not a robot telling me I'm wrong.
Right. It's like when my mother says Washington, the way that she says it. If anyone else made fun of her, I would probably be very upset. But when I make fun of her, it's okay.
Well, that's like John Mulaney was talking about his mom and says, why would somebody still believe in a God? My mommy does, and that's why.
Yes.
So,
my parents are like, they're really happy I'm doing this. They support me all the way. They're good.
Awesome.
I got a really supportive girlfriend too. Her name's Cassandra Kane. She's awesome. I'd like to marry her one day. Yeah. Oh, she's not here, but I'm doing this on my own.
We're just saying if she happens to listen, we're saying hi to her.
Oh, okay. I got you.
That's all right. And also our other Patreon subscriber asked, this is Reagan, and she said, how did the vaping through the gas mask come about?
I quit smoking. Well, not really, but I kind of did. And it was like I'm going through it, and then I'm on the vape. So I was just one day, one day I was just vaping I think I was just vaping in the basement or something, and then Jacob saw it and he was like, you should just do that, vape in the corner or something. So, and then every time, since I has a vape, or I have a vape, Sorry, no, wrong English. And then I just came in. I just kept doing vape stuff. Like when we were doing we were the Bible Thumper Boys for a while. I was vaping and praying at the same time. And then that one time I had a fidget spinner.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. The fidget spinner, I was trying to do it through it like a, what are those called? Those windmills?
Yeah.
Little tiny ones that you could buy and you just blow the air.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have no idea what it's called. That's
a pinwheel.
Pinwheel, yeah, pinwheel.
Pinwheel, that's what it is. Yeah, yeah. All these words and languages, man.
How did I well, it's odd for me.
It's an old word.
As I don't usually remember things, I'm always like, what's the word for da-da-da-da?
But that's an old word.
It is.
It's something that's been around long enough for it to actually get in your brain and stay there.
I've had other stuff that falls out of my brain. Thanks to...
Height.
Thanks.
Both.
Yeah, thanks.
Microwave.
Micro. So... one of the things that we always chat about is, and this kind of goes into Tannis and everything else the show's about, is the activism. I won't say activism, but the politics of in Letterkenny, which are definitely there, but they are it's just so normalized that you have LGBTQ positivity, you have sex positivity. I mean,
there's no like sex shaming around any of the, other than a couple of jokes here and there that are usually done by the person who it should be targeted at.
So I
love that.
No homophobia, all that stuff is, I mean, and it's all kind of addressed as those bad things are all addressed as the degens from upcountry. And it's so normalized to have that, and it's great to have that representation. And from my experience of doing this podcast and have fans reach out to me to talk about it, and because we always go through our thoughts, theories, trivia, questions, observations, all those types of things. There are so many queer people who watch this show and adore it because of the representation, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I do too, because love is love, man. Whatever it doesn't matter who you do love, you do. You can't do anything about it. And I just don't understand why people just can't be more like a lot of the population just doesn't want to be open-minded to it, or like they're so set in their ways that they can't open up their mind out of the box. It's just it's really sad, actually. And I just hope those people can like get that on track one day and just accept everyone for who they are, because you're always going to live with humans for your whole life, like while you're going, and you just have to learn to be more curious rather than judgmental, accept everything and expect nothing, because it's just, that's the way things are.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because I'm sure that's the point of the Hard Right J episode, was to really kind of hammer that home. And what I found is those who don't like the Hard Right J episode kind of fall in that category a bit.
Or the ones that, the ones who, God, I don't even know how to say this. There are fans, I don't know if you pay attention to the social medias around Letterkenny, but there are fans who just don't get that part of the show. And it's really frustrating to try and have conversations with people who don't, even though, like, excuse me, Kisa comes right on and says it basically, like, no, that's not okay. Look, this is a racist and we're beating him up. This is someone who's sexist to women and we're beating them up. This is someone who's homophobic. We're beating them up. Get the point. And they're like, oh, I don't see that. I didn't see that.
There's so many.
Well, are you paying attention to the dialogue when you watch the show, or are you just aimlessly looking at the screen?
Yeah,
that's how I feel. What show are you watching?
It's like, oh, fight. Oh, drinking.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty girl. And that's
it.
And that's it. That they don't go beyond that.
Funny.
funny.
That was
girl.
funny. Yeah, I watched Letterkenny. Like, that's pretty much what they sound like. It's just watch the show, and actually you can see how smart and intellectual it is if you just pay attention to the dialogue.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't read a dictionary when they were young or something. I don't know.
My God, my parents used to make me read the encyclopedia because that would stop me from being bored, and it was pre-computer time. You just totally flashed me back.
Yeah, I read them on snakes and reptiles and stuff growing up. I used to get bullied because of that. I used to be a big reptile nerd, but now I know if one of those people was with me at anything, I'll be by a rattlesnake. I'm like, well, I know what to do, but I don't want to do it for you. So,
Yep.
So
I lived in Oklahoma for a while, and for about 5 years of my life, it was what were my ages again? I think it was grade 2 to grade 5, but I failed grade 4 twice, so 5 years. And Yeah, I just caught a lot of snakes. I got bit by bull snakes. I got bit by a chameleon once. That really stung. What? Got bit by a little mini snapping turtle. Like, I've had a few nicks and crannies with the old...
I didn't know chameleons bit. What?
I didn't know they had teeth.
Yeah, no, it was my babysitter's. I was at a babysitter's house, right? And then she had a pet chameleon, and I think he or she was kind of in heat or something and was really pissed off, but I kept being like, looking at it, you know? So I did, and then it bit me on the finger, and like, what they have in their saliva, because they have that tongue that grabs, right? And then they melt, like their saliva and their teeth help like melt like their prey. So that got into my skin and my blood, and I had to get all like the iodine and everything, and it just stung so bad. And I put the iodine and the alcohol. I'm like, oh my God, it's sad.
That's like the most horrible way to die, because people would be like, you got bit by what?
So that,
okay.
So what you're saying that was a karma chameleon.
No, Jesus, that was terrible. Oh, I love you for that.
Oh, that was a dad joke. Dad joke for sure.
There's a reason why I married him. All those dad jokes.
Sounds like a catch.
That's new.
It is. So
that's good. Look, I introduced sound effects for you guys. There you go.
So, I have a question from Chaos8803 from Reddit. He wants to know if you keep snacks inside your mask.
Do I keep snacks inside my mask?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also keep a blenders in there. I also got like a mini fridge, a bar.
You know,
what else?
That sounds like a good cartoon.
That I can't have because I'm diabetic.
Oh yeah.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
That would be a good cartoon. Diabetic supplies in there. Yeah.
I mean, you are diabetic, so you should keep snacks close by, right?
Definitely.
Oh, they got Kraft. They got stuff like that all around. I take precautions before I do it all. I always make sure I'm on my insulin because I don't want to pass out as this kid. They're like, oh my God, he's having a meth attack or something, you know?
I mean, they somehow wrote it into the show, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Jacob's clever. He knows what's up. Same as Jared. They're very masterminds already of the comedy genre.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's it must be nice to have the creators and producers and everything care so much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because like you were saying earlier, there's so much animosity on other sets that it's like a competition where it should feel like a family. So
especially if you're going to hopefully be working together for years.
Yeah. Because
Like I can't. I mean, as a teacher, I have trouble working with other teachers who I would never actually see except for at meetings and stuff if they have a personality that clashes with mine. So I find that really fascinating how people do get along or do not get along when it's something like that, where it's either short term or in short term bursts, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just with everyone on there, I always love seeing their faces. Every time I go back, like I got sparkles in my eyes. I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store or something. I don't know. It's just really joyous. It's just really good energy. Like I give everybody a hug, you know, and I wasn't really a big hugger until like about a year or two ago. And then I just started, you know, hey, spread more love type thing. So
definitely,
I really, really am grateful. Like I said earlier, for the show, and like everyone on it who works on it, everyone who acts on it are tremendous. Like they're going so far, and it's like watching your pets or kids grow up. It brings a tear to your eyes, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Well, and especially because you guys this isn't like a brand new thing, even though it feels so new to people in the US because we just got it not that long ago. But like we've been doing this podcast for just under a year.
Yeah.
Right?
We started
not quite a year.
We started basically at the new year.
Yeah. Yeah. The first episodes we put out were after the new year. But anyway, so we've been doing this for a little less than a year. And when we started, we personally knew like 10 people who watched the show, and that was it. And we essentially did the podcast to try and talk our friends into finding this show. And then when it hit the US, it was like meteoric. And how does that feel for you guys? Because it was like slow moving and like kind of natural until all of a sudden it's really like blowing up in the US at least. And I know it's been popular in Canada for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. As a small time, I'm just a small time guy or small town guy. Sorry, small time. Well, anyway, like I just like I see some people sometimes. It's very surreal when this happens. Like, and they're like, "Are you that guy on Letterkenny? You take a picture with them and everything, or you sign an autograph, or you kind of just talk to someone who is a big fan of the show."
Mm-hmm.
It's a new experience for me. I'm not sure about anyone else because I don't know how far everyone is. Like I do, but I don't because I didn't live it. But like for me, anyways, it's like wow, like this is what I've been trying to do my whole life, and it's actually happening before my eyes, and just like, you know, I'm trying to be known and entertain people because that's what I've always wanted to do, like since as far back as I can remember, since I was making those films I was talking to you guys about, and when I was like 15, 16 years old. And now that it's all happening, it's a dream come true. Like as cliche as that sounds, it really is. And going into the US and going into Australia, it's like it's getting Trailer Park Boy status almost, because like that show was really small back in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
And then like it just blew up out of nowhere, and now they're doing world tours and going to Ireland and the UK and meeting all these big fucking people and everything, like Sebastian Bach, and you know, and it's just that's what Letterkenny's doing too. They're doing their own thing in their own way, and it's like, wow, they just started and just fucking did it. Like that's awesome. It's great. Like you don't see too many Canadian, how much like a lot of Canadian content get that status. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's almost surreal in my eyes.
Yeah, I think, I think fortunately for me, like I think kind of what, aside from watching the first couple of web series that came out, is when I saw Tyler, and I knew him from Supernatural,
Right.
and so seeing that really kind of related, because I loved his characters he played two different characters on Supernatural, and so that kind of related to me more because I love Supernatural so much, and then, you know, finding Jacob was also a child actor, and you know,
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Sam? What's that?
Jacob was on Are You Afraid of the Dark, and he did another movie I saw called Pin. You ever seen Pin?
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
So.
It's a horror movie about a kid who grows up with like this like doctor doll, and it just starts talking to him, like has a paranoid schizophrenic like relationship with it. It's a trippy movie, and I really liked it a lot. Like I'm a huge horror fan as well, but like
that's Tiara.
My blood is comedy. I love making people laugh and everything, but like Pin, P-I-N. 1988 it came out.
Yeah, Josh,
I saw his name in the credits, because I remember I saw his name in the credits, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna get a talking to. And he looked. I told him about it. He's like, oh fuck, I forgot I did that movie. That's what he told me when we were at one of the rap parties.
Well, I think
that was good.
I know why I missed it. It's because it came out right after I graduated from high school, and I was like, that's not a thing that was happening.
Yeah, I mean, well, and so, but yeah, it seems like so many characters. So Teal Horn, Nathan Dales, and Jared have all been in Supernatural as well. So
Horn was in it?
Yeah.
I missed that.
She was the daughter of the guy who wrote Wizard of Oz that got stuck in Oz. Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That was that's like one of my favorites because Felicia Day.
Oh yeah.
So
God.
Okay.
Come on.
I know, right?
Come on. And then Jared being in Psych, which is another favorite show of ours.
That was the one that tripped me out with that terrible accent.
You
can tell him that too. We love him, but that was a terrible accent.
His really posh white boy.
Really posh.
He's like Thurston Howell the Third.
Yes.
So, yeah, if let's say you weren't a skid on the show and you were any other, where do you think you would be in there?
A skid still.
That's a good answer. I like that. Good answer.
Just because, like, they in the first season, they're like, it's just stuff that I know, and like, I don't know, I know all that video game stuff. I like metal, and they all like dance music and metal and like electronica and everything. Yep. And I think that's all like really trippy stuff, and I just think it kind of reflects almost like metalheads, but not at the same time, because like I don't really consider myself one, because I am, but I'm not, because I like other music, but about 80 or 90% of what I listen to is like all extreme, like death metal, like from Norway, or black metal from Norway, death metal from like Sweden, or like, you know, Germany or whatever. Like, it's all over the world for me, but I also like rap and all that other stuff, but still like the skid's like personality is what I'd be like, yeah, I'm on that for sure. I couldn't, I don't think I could compare to the other ones. I'm like, yeah.
So 100% on the skid. You're all
Skids
in.
For life. Skids rule.
So now I know that except for I think Jim Dickens is the only one who has a full name. The McMurrays have last names. I don't know if there's any of them else.
Well, we have a few where we know, or we think we know because of clues that have been throughout the show.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Jim Dickens is
the
only.
Yeah, he's the only one. With
Is Jim Dickens?
Dick
Skin.
Skin.
Dickens.
Dickens. So does Connor have a last name? And if he doesn't, have you made one up for him?
No, I don't. He doesn't have a last name, not that I've been told. But if I did have one, it'd be probably Connor Harity or Schlislowski or something weird.
Okay.
I don't know
Lots
if
of
that's the
Z's and
last name, but
very yes.
yeah, a lot of
lots of consonants.
I mean, because like even Coach doesn't have a name. He has no name.
He's just Coach.
I mean, his dead wife has a name.
Yes.
Yeah, Barb.
Barb.
And that's great. Like, I don't know, it's a mystery, and like it's good to, it's kind of like good to throw that out there too, because like I'm like, what would their name be and everything, and I don't know. Like, there's only Mrs. McMurray and there's McMurray. That's all he's known.
Right.
I don't. No one else has told me their name.
Well, see, there's the only one thing that there's. I don't know if it meant to be there or if it was just a troll. But when in the Fart Book episode, Katie put her name as her last name as Campbell.
So there's this whole theory that the characters were named after Wayne Campbell, as in Wayne's World, Party Time, Excellent. Sorry.
But that might be a joke, or it could be just because girls like to put different last names because they just do. I don't know. I see that a lot. They're like, I'm going to have a different last name. I'm like, okay, whatever you want.
True.
Sure.
Yeah, but we just thought that was...
Sure, it's your life.
Is there...
Wait, that was what? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I thought it was interesting that was the name put in there. I'm sure, I kind of wonder if Jared wrote that as an homage to
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World to the, what's his name? The guy in Wayne's World. And why is my brain?
I'm only thinking of Dana Carvey. Mike Myers.
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers. That was Austin Powers.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Honestly, my favorite Mike Myers movie,
How to Marry an Ex-Murderer.
So I Married
an Ex-Murderer. Yes.
That was so great.
Absolutely.
Highly underrated.
I remember seeing that back in the day because those are my horror movie lists when I was making them back.
I loved that movie.
Good times.
That was one of the first that kind of blended the horror and comedy in an intentional way, and I didn't realize that till much, much later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, have you guys ever seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Oh, my God.
That's
yes.
pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
So good. I'm ready for the sequel.
Yes.
We watched, me and my lady watched one the other day. I'm trying to remember the name of it. That was kind of funny. I watched a really weird one today called Images. It was all about, like, this girl in the 70s, like 72. It was like a mental health thing. Like, it was a real mind fuck. And I'm like, this movie is, like, going off the barriers of storytelling. It's great. I love it. If you guys ever get a chance to check that out, I would too.
What was that one?
What was it?
Images.
Images.
Yeah, from 1972.
Yeah,
she's constantly looking for new horror or different horror movies she hasn't seen.
Yeah. I like.
Oh, you ever heard of Lucio Fulci or Dario Argento?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Suspiria.
Yeah, like House by the Cemetery is Lucio Fulci. Then there's Suspiria from Argento.
Mm-hmm.
There's Demons. What else is there? Cat in the Brain, I think Dario Argento does. Or I think that's a Fulci film because that one was really brutal.
On this coming Monday, we're going to go see 3 from Hell.
Yes. Got tickets for that.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to see that with Cass, too, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, we, that the whole, especially after Sid Haig dying, because I'm born and raised horror movie fan. Like that my earliest memories of movies and books are horror movies and books. And, so like we even named, a Mastiff that we had, who's now passed away. We named her Baby Firefly after the character in House of a Thousand Corpses because she looked so sweet and innocent, but could be kind of scary. But she also was, kind of,
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we're in this house. It's big.
Yeah.
And me finding something that I have not seen or something that doesn't seem like every other one. That's a pretty fun day for me.
Yeah, something unique that's just not the standard. I mean, every now and I can kind of understand the standard slasher movie, but so many of them are the same as the last one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Have you guys ever watched found footage movies?
Oh, I can't. I actually can't watch those.
I saw I
can't process them well.
Someone took me to the Blair Witch because of all the buzz that it was getting, and so I went, and I was like, this is just kind of dull. I mean, I wasn't feeling it at all.
Well, and you're not a big horror fan anyway.
No, I'm not. It's got to be really, really. I mean, for me, it's got to be really, really good. It's got to, like Tucker and Dale, which was funny and clever. There's got to be an amount of cleverness in it. Where
Shaun of the Dead. Zombieland.
Yep. Yeah. So yes, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny, but I think there's got to be a little bit of humor in it, but it's got to be clever writing for sure. So.
No, I gotcha. I just always think found footage movies are different because it's like it looks like it could have happened and everything, and like they usually do really a lot of money on their effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's one I pointed out that I like a lot. It was called Grave Encounters. It's about a paranormal activity people. Like they go and they do their show and they go into this one haunted like mental asylum, and then they can't find their way out. They know the way out, but it's not the way out anymore, and it just gets really, really like demented. And then number 2 came out, and I noticed Mr. Dylan Playfair was in it, and I congratulated him on it because I really I liked that one too. It was pretty funny and scary at the same time.
Nice, that's the best combo.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the hockey boys is in there. DP, to call.
I liked him in Goon.
Yes.
Him and Andrew. Or Goon too. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So getting back
I gotta check out that series again.
Getting back to Letterkenny a little bit. One of the things that we're always talking about on our podcast is all of the very quotable lines from the show. Do you have any do you have one that's your favorite? A phrase like pitter patter or...
Yeah, well, Texas size 10-4.
I like hard no and Texas size 10-4.
Yes. I like hard no.
I like those 2 ones the best.
I
use them both in my everyday conversation.
Yes. It's either that or mostly it's can confirm
mm-hmm.
or that's probably my opposite of Texas size 10-4 or pitter patter for sure or figured out.
Figured out is actually I've said that to my students and they look at me like I'm so weird. Like, just figure it out.
Fucking figure it out. You figure it out.
They will one day. And they'll watch it.
Tell it to your face. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I like figure it out, too. And hard no and Texas size 10-4. Those are my top 3 for sure.
Yeah. There's so many good ones.
Oh, yeah.
And what's funny is, Fart Book. I know lots of folks don't like Fart Book. But I think it's honestly one of the most clever episodes there is. Just because of... Yeah, well, the kids falling off bikes is hilarious. But the way Devin did his Zuckerberg or his Eisenberg Zuckerberg was so spot on. And I mean, it's just about the shit that goes on social media all the time. It was really clever. And I know a lot of even our friend Heidi that we interviewed about it when we had her on as a guest host, she was like sighing the entire time when it was talking about farts.
Like, yes, I like this part, but I didn't want to because of all the farts.
It's a double-edged knife there. I think that we have with that. So one of the things that we've been talking about off and on is setting up a Letterkenny con,
or rather, we've been asked a couple of times.
Yeah, we've been asked, and we've kind of marinated on it to put it in a Letterkenny term. But and this is assuming that the producers and Jared and whomever else would need to be involved would be okay with it. But what would you think would be important to have at a Letterkenny convention?
What would be important to have is just I don't know, everyone who really loves the show and supportive, like who would come out, just come bring your costumes, dress how you are, or you like cosplay and everything, or just, I don't know, maybe if you just had like kind of replicas of all the sets that we have, or like if you had a replica of the farm and a replica of everything around, and then it's just kind of like you're there in Letterkenny almost, like you can get a replica of Stewart's basement and the skids are all hanging down there and like doing the signing autographs and everything. Like, I don't know, that'd be kind of creative, but all depends.
I hadn't even thought of something like that.
Yeah, make the fans kind of feel like they're in Letterkenny, like the town that doesn't really exist but does exist, because it's pretty much every small town, like the Canadian Ontario town, like it's pretty much like that. Like I'm very sure it's all based off like how they were in Listowel, like which is like really small. And like I could relate to North Bay stuff because when we got bored when we were kids, me, Cody, and Pete, and all my friends, we'd go out and be like, well, let's go set off fireworks or go skateboarding or, you know, backyard wrestle or something. You know, like just you're bored in a small town, you know what to do.
True. True. Very true. That's
I mean, I could have went and I'd done heroin and meth, like actually, but I'm like, nah, I'll just do all this like extreme stuff and I'll put my life on the line instead, you know?
Yeah, that's.
But
I'm too old for that
towns
anymore.
are kind of. Yeah, no. No, small towns are just in Ontario, pretty much like Letterkenny. Like it's got their own set of like maybe not exactly, but it's pretty much the same almost set of things. From what I've noticed.
Yeah. You have. Thought Tiara had something.
Sorry, no,
so.
just got a text.
Oh, so yeah, I could even see like a panel that would be Connor and Darian discuss literature and something very clever, you know, where it was, you know, and you would take questions from the audience about
and answer them as the character.
Yeah, exactly. Something
But
silly.
I'll do it all in sign language.
I mean, we know a couple people who could be interpreters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Or I can lip it and they can sign language my lipping, and then it'll be the most silent conversation you've ever had in your life.
Oh my
totally.
God. And the only thing we would say is, please silence your cell phones.
We have one more question from Reddit.
Okay.
This is from Net Pastor. Will we see the fuck you return? Do you believe we will?
I don't know. If you believe in yourself and you believe in all the 3 fuck you quotes enough, I think it might come back.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Sarah Gadden with you guys was amazing.
So great.
And then when she left and all you were sobbing, it was so hard. I mean, you could feel it. You even though it's a silly show, you could feel the emotion there.
Mm-hmm.
So
just the music they chose too, you know,
oh my
like
God.
it just all went with it.
Always.
Jared does such a great job
for that scene. Thank you. I actually cried on command for that scene, and then while it was happening, I'm like, I'll just vape while it's happening on Tyler's shoulder, and I heard Jacob like almost like choke on his own spit from trying not to laugh at that because we're just vaping and like not taking it serious, but not taking it serious, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, let's get to the lightning round questions.
Let's do it. All right. So these are a bunch of little quick questions. Just answer off the top of your head what you prefer. Where do you like to sit when you go to the movies?
Anywhere that's not sticky.
That's a good answer. I like that one.
Aren't they all sticky? So I know you're diabetic.
No, depending on what type of theater you're at.
Yeah.
So I know you're diabetic, but assuming you could have it, cake or pie?
Oh, cake for sure. Give me some cheesecake.
Oh my God.
All up in that. Get my high blood sugars.
Did we just become best friends?
I knew it. I was just going to say that y'all became best friends just now.
Go ahead.
Who is the kindest person you know?
The kindest person that I know. That's really hard because there's lots of kind people that I know. But I'd probably have to say either my lady or my mom.
Aww. We love you, Mom.
Two, because like my lady she's super, super kind with like everyone around, and like she tries her best to be anyways. And like my mom is she has good intentions, but she goes a mile a minute. It's like she's on speed or cocaine, but she doesn't do that at all. But she's really fast, like moving and talking, and I can't really understand her sometimes. So I'm like, you got to give me a second here, Mom. So yeah.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
What kind of sandwich and what's on the hot dog?
Well, just
up to you.
Yeah.
Do you like philosophically?
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? This is something that's come up on our show.
Oh, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much a meat sandwich. All the entrails and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Boots.
Yeah, or as Don likes to call it, a tube meat taco.
Tube meat taco.
Yeah. There you go. Tube meat. I'll have myself some tube meat tonight, honey.
All right, last one. Dogs or cats?
I can't decide on that. They're both great in their own ways.
And he's got a cat.
So cat dogs.
Okay.
Cat dogs.
We've seen that cartoon.
Yeah, we've seen that.
So
yeah, me too. Back in the day.
So before we sign off, is there anything else you would like to plug and or promote?
Just I hope everyone enjoys Letterkenny and just keeps supporting the show. We're dropping the other next season on October 11th on Crave, the 14th on Hulu, and then I'm pretty sure I was told the 15th for Australia.
There you go.
It's going to come out actually like the first season, like it's going to start then.
Nice.
I'm doing comedy sketches right now. I'm starting to film as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but like I have been anyways lately. It's called Plywood Mind. And it's going to just be like a bunch of different series of comedy or like rant videos that I might have, and just like, I don't know, different bunch of playlists of everything. I'm working on a kind of a shitty life hack show. It's going to look VHS style right now. I've already got three episodes done. I just got to edit them, and I don't know, just shout out to everyone from Letterkenny. Shout out to all my old school buddies in Dirt Squad and Blacktooth, and I like to say I love you to Cassandra Kane, my lady. Hi, Cassie. And yeah, that's about it.
Beautiful.
Do you guys have any other questions for me?
Well, I'm sure we could talk for hours and hours, but people tend
you
to
gotta
tune
close
out.
it off sometime because no one wants to listen to us for 5 hours.
I mean,
we've been on the cusp of doing that before. So
well, with your other podcast.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Don't get me started. I think what we know about you, or what we've learned about you in this, has been great. I mean, you've seemed, just from everything that I've watched you on, whether it be Letterkenny or your Instagram posts or your Twitter posts, you seem like a really cool guy. And I mean, definitely somebody I would want to hang out with and watch movies with and watch you ride your skateboard, because I couldn't do that. So,
oh my God, I'm so flattered. Thank you, Dee. Thank you. But no, I forgot what I was going to say here. Yeah, that's pretty much all I could really think of.
That's okay.
All right then.
But yeah, but we will always have your back. We are fans of Letterkenny until we're your ride or die bitches.
Yeah,
so.
That's a really great way to put it.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys having me on the podcast. I would like to hang out one day,
Hell yeah.
That would be pretty cool, get a beer or something, or have a sandwich, or, a 2-meat sandwich would be great.
Well, I do happen to know a very good place that makes very good Seattle dogs, if you're ever in Seattle. Yeah. And as for the beer...
If you guys get bored...
what was that?
If you guys do get bored, watch for DSBT TV, and I would like to go to a Seattle dog place with you guys. That'd be great, and have some good beer.
Oh yeah,
and we can go to Seattle Underground Wrestling.
Seattle Underground Wrestling.
I have some friends that do that. Yeah,
I'd be down. I like watching backyard wrestling, all that barbed wire and thumbtacks and chair shots. It's all fun,
It's all fun.
But if you guys do get bored, watch my old sketch show.
We will definitely do that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if you guys do get bored, just watch the old DSBT TV. I don't know if you guys did check out that before, but that's my other acting skills. If you want to go on that,
I have not checked that out yet. That is in my queue of to dos once we get caught up on Letterkenny.
Yeah, we still have. On. We just finished season 4.
This will be our season 4 recap.
Yeah.
This episode will be on the tail end of our season 4 recap.
So basically, we're slowly catching up, or quickly catching up, because we've been doing this for like less than a year.
Yeah.
Quickly catching up with you guys, and by the time season 7 has been out for a little bit, we will be ready for season 8.
Yeah.
We'll actually be able to do season 8 as they come out.
Probably, depending upon when
you guys are in for some treats.
I'm so
can't
excited.
wait. Can't wait.
So excited. I'm like that little girl in the gift that likes eating the cotton candy. That's what I'm like right now.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And we hope to talk to you
again
very
soon. Thank you guys for having me.
Definitely.
Tell all your friends.
Yes. Of course. I will promote it all over the place. I will tell all my buddies where to check it out. You guys got to send me a link, and then I'll send a link to everyone else.
Beautiful. We will.
All right.
All right. Thank you, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Okay. You guys too, and have an awesome Sunday, and go get a nice dinner or something,
Oh, yeah.
Take care, guys. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of How Are You Now? If you like us, subscribe and give us a nice review. If you don't, well, we're not for everyone, but we thank you for listening anyway. If you'd like to give us a review, you can do so via iPhone at the Apple Podcast app or via iTunes. If you don't have an Apple device, or if you choose to use another method, we can be rated on podchaser.com. If you'd like to contact us for any reason, we can be found on the interwebs at howareyounowpod.com. We can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at howareyounowpod, and via email at host@howareyounowpod.com. And finally, a big thank you to our musical guests this week, Song Dispenser. You can find them on soundcloud.com/songdispenser, facebook.com/songdispenser, and they can be contacted at songdispenser@sonicsquirrel.org. Thank you for being the lovely DJs you are. We'll see you next time.